So a venue steeped in motorsport history, stages and historic French Grand Prix here this weekend. The 4.19 kilometre, 2.6 mile Bugatti circuit here in Le Mans. 14 corners, 5 left, 9 of them right. Stop and go in nature. This track certainly favours high braking stability and acceleration and drive grip off those first gear corners. So many famous corner names to talk you through here around this Le Mans lap. Always have to be very, very careful, don't you, in that Dunlop chicane, particularly in the morning sessions when you're trying to get temperature in those tyres. Into turn number 8, Garage, where it all went horribly wrong for Pecco Bagnaia when he was duelling for the victory 1 year ago with an Bastianini. And into that vital sector 4 into Recordamont to the finish line. Good morning there, Nano. Warm welcome to you from the Bugatti circuit. It's the Shark Grand Prix of France. A landmark weekend, a milestone weekend, and what will sure to be a memorable weekend in the history of the MotoGP World Championship. This great series started on the Isle of Man back in June 1949. Fast forward though, over 7 decades, 74 years, and those fans this weekend will join in the celebrations as it's the 1000th Grand Prix to take place in history. Time to get this party started here then. Happy to report, as you can see these live pictures from Le Mans, that we've got some very, very pleasant temperatures and some clear blue skies right now over Le Mans, because when we set off on that annual pilgrimage to this great circuit on Wednesday, there were some fears that we might get a complete washout here this weekend. Not so though early doors here on Friday as we get set for 45 minutes. P1 coming your way here to kick off round 5 in the company of Matt Burt, Lewis Sotheby in the commentary box as always, with Simon Crafar down in pit lane. And here is the reigning world champion, who after a pretty shaky start in that Spanish Grand Prix in Jerez a couple of weeks ago, boy did he bounce back in emphatic fashion after the disappointment of crashes in the Argentinian and Austin Grand Prix. Second in the sprint on Saturday, and what a duel. He got the better of the 2 KTMs, didn't he? 26-year-old Italian Pecco Bagnaia. That victory in Jerez, back-to-back wins in Spain for the Italian, means he comes into round 5 with a pretty comfortable 22-point buffer over fellow Italian Marco Bezzecchi. Bagnaia already so far this season, 2 sprint wins, 2 Grand Prix wins, but he had to work very, very hard on this because the KTM boys really came to the party, didn't they?
They did. Brad Binder already pointing to his ears. He can hear the support that's coming his way from the grandstands. As you said a moment ago, let's get the party started. For many in those grandstands, the party is well underway. It was already taking place here yesterday when the pit lane was absolutely chock-a-block for the pit lane walk. You could barely move down there in the pit lane. This is one of the greater atmospheres of the Grand Prix calendar. It feels like a fitting location for this 1000th Grand Prix in history. And we were discussing the Ducati Lenovo team with Pecco Bagnaia leading the World Championship. He's got a new teammate, a familiar teammate, of course, for the Ducati Lenovo team, Danilo Petrucci, returning to the team with which he won this Grand Prix 3 years ago.
Is there ever a shot where that man has not got a massive smile on his face? Yeah, we welcome back the 32-year-old Italian, of course, currently plying his trade for the Barney Spark Ducati squad over in World Superbikes. He raced for the factory Ducati team back in 2019 and 2020 in for this French Grand Prix for Enea Bastianini. Sadly, the ongoing effects of that horrible right shoulder fracture he suffered in the opening sprint of the season back in Portimao. Bastianini taking the perhaps wise option to take another 4 weeks off and come back 100% fit for his home Grand Prix in Mugello. Jack Miller, well, he's enjoying life. He is loving life, isn't he, at Red Bull KTM right now. Only the 8th rider in the modern MotoGP era now to podium for 3 different brands. His podium for KTM in Jerez last time out means he obviously podiumed for Ducati and for Honda previously. And keep an eye on the number 43, the Aussie this weekend. He loves Le Mans. Second here last year. He was the race winner in 2021, the first Australian to have back-to-back wins since Casey Stone in 2012. He's a Moto3 winner here, back in an absolute melee in Moto3 back in 2014. So Jack Miller will fancy a crack at another double podium, just as he did so in Jerez 2 weeks ago.
And Jack Miller's win in 2021 were in the kind of conditions that many are expecting tomorrow afternoon, the flag-to-flag race of 2021. And he was full of beans, wasn't he, in his post-race interviews and in the press conference following that podium in Jerez. Of course, many discussed his move to the KTM squad and what that meant for his Grand Prix career. And he simply said, well, there's been a lot of talk about this KTM not being a particularly good bike. Where is it now, is what he asked. A bit of a rhetorical question to everyone else, because the answer is it's pretty commonly somewhere near the front.
Well, when we see this man on screens very, very shortly, the 2021 MotoGP World Champion, not lacking support in this part of the world, is he? Fabio Quartararo and Johann Zarco, home crowd heroes. They took part in a special pre-event here on Wednesday. They rode their bikes from downtown Le Mans to the circuit. Thousands of fans waiting to greet them on the streets. Hundreds of bikers joined that special cavalcade. Special scenes here in the build-up to this landmark Grand Prix. I've got to say, loving that special home design helmet that Fabio's got here this weekend. That is an absolute beauty. But he needs a big result. He needs the support of that home crowd to try and gee him on after what has been a tough start to his season. There you can see that was the start of our special 1000 Grand Prix celebrations here, when the mass throngs of bikers came early. You have to say there were hundreds and hundreds of motorcyclists that followed Zarco and Quartararo on that very special parade. The streets were lined in downtown Le Mans. It was great to see the fans embracing the MotoGP heroes. There are some pictures from that special event. Lewis, this was what we want to see. The fans soaking up the pre-race atmosphere, and Fabio Quartararo and Johann Zarco putting on quite some show.
Putting on quite the show as they lapped the Bugatti circuit with quite the convoy in tow, and it's good to see Fabio Quartararo with a smile on his face. We haven't seen that too much in recent times. It has been a very tough start to 2023 for the Monster Energy Yamaha man, but he's certainly got home field advantage this weekend. Both himself and Johann Zarco have got an awful lot of support on their side this weekend. Fabio Quartararo didn't enjoy the easiest of home Grand Prix here 1 year ago, where it all went wrong for him really on the very first lap of the race. But if there's ever a time and ever a place for Quartararo to turn his season around, this is the place. And you feel that the key day is today for Fabio Quartararo, because it all went wrong for him on Friday in Jerez. Found himself outside of the Q2 cutoff, and it never really picked up from there.
Fabio is the owner, as you can see there. We're just pointing to the shoulder cam, so he'll be bringing us some breathtaking action around this 4.19 kilometre Le Mans circuit. There's going to be massive, massive support for Quartararo and Zarco here this weekend. There is not a spare seat in the house. We are expecting another potential record crowd here in Le Mans. 110,000 fans packed this historic venue here 1 year ago. That was a record crowd, and if anything, what we saw yesterday on Thursday, when there were thousands of people on the pit lane wall, we may get another record crowd here on Sunday. It's the hottest ticket in town without any question, and a lot of fans are here to see this man as well. Johann Zarco, happy memories in Le Mans, took his first ever MotoGP podium here 6 long years ago, back in 2017. Looking to steady the ship somewhat, I think, though, Lewis. 9th in the World Championship coming into his home Grand Prix. It's been a bit of a mixed bag for Zarco. He seems to have had good speed in all conditions in all 4 races so far this season, but he's just been missing that sweet spot on that Pramac Ducati. He was hoping a good test post-race at Jerez on the Monday, where he had no new parts from Ducati to try. He could just go out on circuit, try different setups, work on himself, work on the bike, and he thinks that will stand him in good stead potentially for a big weekend here. And this man is back in town, and as he said yesterday, he's only here not to defend. He's here in full attack mode. Welcome back, Marc Marquez, after all of his recent injury problems.
Love him or hate him, Marc Marquez is box office. There is absolutely no doubt about that. It's so good to see him back. I think Repsol Honda are very keen and very relieved to see Marc Marquez back on track as well this weekend. This is a circuit, as just about every other circuit on the calendar, he's got a very formidable record. 4 times a winner here in MotoGP, or 3 times in the MotoGP class, in addition to a win here in the smaller classes as well. First time we've seen him on track since that controversial collision with Miguel Oliveira and Jorge Martin in Portimao, which, if you haven't been following the off-track news in the run-up to this Grand Prix this weekend, we might as well confirm to you now and get it out of the way, the housekeeping straight away. That double on that penalty that he was given following the Portuguese